Fight. Okay, guys, my initial thoughts on this fight. First of all, I was thoroughly entertained because it was a great fight, action packed from the beginning of the bell. Kron was working hard, coming forward. Cub was impressive with his footwork, his hands, his counters, his movement. Both men were fighting really well. Now, I know a lot of you are going to be very critical of Kron because he brought to the table a very old style. Okay. But coming in with a style, in my opinion, you can bring any style as long as it worked. Okay. And it didn't work. However, we can say that Khabib brings in an old type of style and it really works. Okay. He takes down all his opponents and he mauls them, and he uses wrestling and jiu-jitsu and sambo and everything, and his boxing to bring the guy down to the ground and just bring them in the bottom position and just drown them with his pressure, and he finally gets the sub. Okay, so we've seen an evolution obviously throughout the years. Kron is a bit of a flash from the past. Okay, his style is kind of old, and I think a lot of people were bothered by that and a lot of very critical. But I'm not. I think that he's only 5 fights in, and he has a lot to learn, and he's gonna figure out, and he's gonna adapt his style, no doubt. Okay, he's gonna get better at takedowns. But what did impress me was his ability to punch. Okay, and not necessarily his. Okay, he was not as slick as Cub. I'll give you guys that. But he did land nearly 100 significant strikes. Okay, let me pull up the exact stats here. Now, I'm not a big believer in these stats, but they're just an indicator. Okay, he had 86 significant strikes, and Cub had 135. Now, 135 is a lot more significant strikes than 86, obviously. And you can't compare one significant strike with another. We can't equate them to be the same. I think Cub not only landed more, he landed by far the better strikes. His strikes connected more, they followed through more, they were more damaging. When Kron landed, it was not as significant. Okay, even though you might count it as a significant strike, I'll give it to you guys. I agree with the majority of you. I imagine the majority of you are going to say that his strikes are not as significant as Cub. No doubt about it. Cub's strikes were more significant. He connected more often. But what really impressed me with Kron was his determination. His determination was incredible. His heart is incredible. He has a heart of a lion. Now, I'll tell you guys something. I've seen a lot of fighters. I've trained a lot of people. It's not easy to do what Kron did. To keep coming forward, to never back down, to never back up, even though when you get hit, he kept moving forward. That was the only way, in my opinion, he was going to win the fight. The only way is if he kept pressuring Cub, kept pressuring Cub. If he moved back, if he stepped back, if Kron had stepped back, I think he would, because with his skill set, okay, now listen, I would have, if I was Kron's trainer, I would have trained him totally differently. I don't think he went about it in the way that is the most efficient, most likely for success, okay? But with the tools he had, he followed, with the limited tools he had, he followed the best game plan. Move forward, walk him down, move forward. Even when you get hit, you cannot step back, because Cub's striking is far more sophisticated. He had to march Cub down, and the third round was his best round, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying he was close to beating Cub at all. I think Cub was in control of round 3. But it was a better round. Again, with that limited set of skill set he had. Now, of course, his skill set on the ground is amazing. We're talking about his boxing and his wrestling. We have to say it was limited. Okay, he's not the best striker, and he's not the best wrestler in the division. How does he get the fight to the ground? That was the best strategy, in my opinion, for the skill set he had that night. Now, does Kron have room to grow? Absolutely. I think he will. Why? Because he showed so much determination. He showed so much effort. He showed so much courage. He showed so much toughness that I was impressed with that, because that's something that's very special. When you have a fighter who can show so much guts, you can work with a fighter like that. Now, is he open-minded to develop his skills? Is he open-minded to branch out in different types of martial arts? That's going to be the big question. But he has the athleticism. He has the will. He has that toughness. He has that thing that's very hard to teach. His determination was incredibly impressive. His determination was really I admire him for his determination, his toughness. But Cub is way too experienced, way too skilled, and in a large octagon like that, it's going to be very hard to catch. Cub won all 3 rounds, and I thought that he won round 1 by the biggest margin, then round 2 was slightly less, and round 3 was a closer round. I like to imagine, what if there was no rounds and no time limit? What would happen in that fight? I always think like that. This is really what fighting is, in my opinion. Imagine there was no time limit, no rounds. We're just gonna fight till one guy quits or one guy cannot continue. I think Kron could actually win a fight like this. He can go way further, because the thing is, the 3 rounds and the 5 minutes always gonna hurt Kron. Why? Because we saw his ability to close the distance was very limited. His ability to close distance is very limited. It's going to take Kron a long time to close the distance. But we saw he's also not going away. At the end of the round, at the end of the 3rd round, he was still ready to fight hard. He showed incredible conditioning. He showed incredible toughness. He showed incredible will to win. And I still always feel like he has one takedown. He needs to body lock. He needs to get into that one. All he needs is one good takedown, and that can change everything. Now, Cub Swanson's a black belt. He's very seasoned. It's not that simple. Even taking Cub down doesn't mean it's going to be the end. Absolutely not. All I'm saying is it could be. That's how good Kron is. That's how devastating his submissions can be. So that was my assessment. I think Kron has a lot to learn and grow, but he also has a lot to bring to the table. Okay, he has a lot to bring to the table. I think the fans are going to be overly negative. I feel it coming. Like, I'm going to open it up to your comments and questions not very shortly. I feel they're going to be overly negative. Let's try to keep it balanced. I think he brought a lot to the table, even though we saw that there was a lot of issues with his game. It's not modernized. It needs an upgrade. So let's open it up, guys. That was my initial breakdown of the fight. I didn't go into too much detail technically, but that's the overall. Okay, now let's open it up to you guys, and that way we can touch up on the more technical issues, okay, about the fight.